All right, welcome to the You Can Mentor podcast. This is Zach, and I'm with my man AD. AD, say what's up.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Man, AD, Aric Diaz, he is with Grip Outreach for Youth in Chicago, Illinois. And guys, if y'all haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, you guys have to just to see AD's hair. I mean, his dreadlocks, next level, next level. I mean,
Thank
I'm
you.
jealous, man. So, how's it going today up in Chicago?
It's good. Cold. But the snow is melting, so that's cool.
Snow is
Hopefully,
melting.
yeah, yeah. Actually,
Man,
by next week we're supposed to have some warmer 40-degree weather, so it's gonna get crazy in the city when that happens.
I love that, man. So I have known about AD and about what they do up in Chicago for quite a while, man. And I'm so excited to have you on our podcast just to kind of share about who you are and what you guys are up to. So, man, just like super fast, can you just give me just a tiny bit of a little bit of background on who you are, your family, what you do at Grip?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So yeah, my name's AD. Born and raised in San Antonio, Texas. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think. Uh, Grew up on the northwest side of town. Um, and thought that that's where I would serve. There's a funny. I've heard a new quote: "Tell God your plans, and then watch him, do something opposite." So yeah, I thought originally when I became a believer in 2009, I thought I would stay and just serve San Antonio. The northwest side was like blowing up, like community college wise and population wise, like large populations of people moving from California, now like even Illinois. So the northwest side of San Antonio has just blown up and continues to expand. Um, but yeah, backing up, grew up in Catholic household and just didn't really, yeah, just went to church. And I just wanted to get out so we could go eat um, on a Sunday. And then one of my cousins became a believer, a Christian, and so her and her boyfriend were walking with Christ, and they invited me to this camp, and this camp had basketball, so I was like, oh, all right, like now I'm interested. All right, I'll go hoop. And so I experienced some form of Christianity, some level of like I saw like thugs crying, like, hood dudes crying, and I got exposed to like Christian hip hop and so that was all the Christianity I knew. And so I needed to go to this camp. That was like the camp became like my gospel, unfortunately. So I would go every summer to get, refired or my faith rekindled. Um and then and graduated and went headlong into like graffiti addiction, I would say. And but outwardly, I was a Pharisee. I didn't cuss. I wasn't doing drugs. I wasn't like messing around with girls and stuff. And man, by God's grace, um, I got caught up like in a cult that was just like very um, emphasized very much in baptism and baptism in their church. And God once again used like Christian hip hop to help me like sift through that. There was some things wrong there that some Christian hip hop artists were exposing. And I met some people on MySpace, and they met me halfway because gas prices had gone way up and San Antonio is really really huge. And I started to hear the gospel probably like 2008 October, for a couple months, just hearing the gospel, going to some Bible studies, and then God pulled back the veil, and I saw the glory of Jesus Christ in 2009. And I put together some scriptures for a gospel message, and I started going out with the brothers that I got saved through and under and around, and they would go out, uh, evangelizing, sort of like preaching the gospel with a bullhorn. And then I took that, and I was encouraged by that, but um, we started doing things our way. And by our way, I guess like me and like the Christian hip hop or the hip hop heads that I was surrounded by, And so we would go out downtown, and make a joyful noise, make music. We would freestyle, we would have some beats, and then we would draw a crowd. And then as the crowd wanted to hear more, we would preach the gospel, and then break out into like, yeah, one-on-one conversations if they would let us. Um, and so, yeah, those were my first few years, and I ended up working at Kids Across America, and God used, like, my graffiti, uh, artistic talents there, and we did, like, graffiti. I would teach kids, through graffiti and make like, "Hey, we were created to glorify God through art, through basketball, through everything." Um, and, also got involved with I heard about Kids Across America, 6 months after I got saved in 2009. I went to this thing called Legacy Conference here in Chicago, and that's where it was my mind was blown. Like, I would meet brothers and sisters from Florida, from New York, and then you would hear like, "Oh, you got saved too? You came to know Jesus too?" Like, it was mind-blowing, and that became a big family reunion for me, and, that's where I got to know Brian Dye, and I was, discipled by him. Like, every summer, I would go and hang out with him, for weeks at a time, since 2009. And then some doors opened up, and 2000 I met my wife in 2015. We got married, we got married in 2015, and then the doors opened up for us to move to Chicago in 2019 with my 2 kids.
That's awesome, man. That's a great story, dude. I absolutely love how the Lord can use whatever it is that you're passionate about to help people
Yes.
experience Him. You know, like me, like, and I don't even know what it means to do graffiti. You know what I'm saying? But like, but the fact that He can use you, and the fact that you have experiences with that, and you have a
Yeah.
talent, it's just like whatever you care about. If you give that up to the Lord, He can use it, and
Yeah.
I just think that's so
Even
powerful.
I would even say even the things that you don't care about. So, I'm not sure how much the Lord used this one brother along with other brothers that, I was, growing in the Lord with, but I remember, kicking it with KB, a pretty big, now he's a very big gospel, Christian hip hop rapper guy. And he picked me up, in like 2010 from the airport. I was going to hang out with him and some other brothers and sisters, and they were going to Bible college. And I was just like, man, you're so lucky, man. You get to go to Bible college and learn about God. And I'm like, I'm at a secular like community college, and like I got math homework and this and that. And he's like, brother, you better be doing those math problems to the glory of God. And I was like, oh, I never heard of this before. So First Corinthians 10:31 is very huge in my life. So whether you drink or eat or whatever you do, do unto the glory of God. And so that's been like a life mission for me. I want to do all things to the glory of God. Even eating and drinking, like I want to do that. Like, man, God, thank you. I want to do graffiti now. Like, God, thank you. I want to use that in a manner that He's going to be pleased by.
Awesome, man. Absolutely love that. So, AD, you're the men's mentorship manager at Grip. Tell me what the heck that
Yes.
means.
Yeah. Um, yeah, Grip has been around for Slam might have been before Grip, but I want to say maybe 25 years. They've been meeting at the Cabrini Green area, and it was started by a group of individuals who they saw the kids that they had been pouring into, and then after middle school, they would just drop off into just all sorts of craziness, right? And so they began looking for mentors to come and do a high school ministry, and so that brought on the men's mentorship manager. And so my goal as we look for Christian mentors in the city, I meet with them once a month, ideally. And as you get involved in this, one, like Satan doesn't like that. Like Satan doesn't like that uh, young women and young men are meeting Christian, mentors. And so, there's spiritual warfare involved. There's just life circumstances, trials. And so I meet with them. try to support them and support the relationships that they're going after as well. So we get up, get a bite to eat, get some coffee. I pray for them. I let them know, things that we're trying to do in that month. And then I help navigate just any relational um, issues that they may be having with their students or their families. Yeah, just try to support them. So
Man,
yeah.
Cabrini Green. So my dad was born and raised there.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Small
So
world.
yeah, so for those people who don't know, it was and I could be wrong about this, but I don't think I am. It was the first governmental housing construction in the entire US. And it's right smack dab in the middle of Chicago. And it's a tough place to
Yeah.
be raised. So
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, they've torn most of it down. Um, but there's a pool. There's a pool back to come back to Cabrini Green for a lot of students. There's some row houses left. Um, a lot of much like a lot of other cities, there's been massive like gentrification. But there's still families that are in and around, and still students that need support. So
yeah. Man, so I think one thing that I really love about Grip is just your intentionality. And it just seems like everything that you guys do has a purpose behind it. And so if you guys haven't checked out their website yet, go because there's a lot of really, really cool information on it. But tell me exactly what is Grip because it stands for something, right?
yeah, yeah. So grip, much like getting a grip. Yeah, they wanted to get a grip on students. But first thing was gospel. So we wanted to, yeah, share the gospel um, with students. And one way to share the gospel, or one of the best, ways, something that's needed, is relationships as well. So we call them life on life relationships, um, to make disciples, right? So you want to share the gospel, but you also want to be in relationship. You want to love your neighbor that you're preaching the gospel to. Also, relationships lead to immersion. So we want to preaching the gospel, uh, being in relationships with these students, and then hey, like, why don't you come to church with me as well? Or why don't you come to my small group? I've taken students to my small group, and so it's a different aspect of church, right? So we want to try to plug in these students to different churches, in their area, and then preparation. So we want to prepare them for their future, whether that be through prayer or through practical life skills. Yeah, getting them prepared for their future. Um, how to work, how to communicate, providing programs that will, help them with their future, which is what we were talking about in regards to future steps.
Yeah, for sure.
So mentoring.
Yeah, so I would love to hear about what are some of the things that you guys actually do. You talked about Slam some. I would love to hear more about that. I would love to hear about the work that you guys do in school. And then really just to focus in on how do you help prepare them for the future through your Future Steps program. So why don't you just kind of start off and share with us about slam. I'm a big guy, 6'8". Back in the day, I used to be able to ball a little bit. Now I'm just the old man sitting down there in the paint, kind of setting screens and getting mad at people because they don't give me the ball. But I would love to hear about that. So
Yeah, so Slam is a sports based, high energy, uh, I guess, yeah, the mentorship, really like the core of our ministry. So it's a night where students come. Well, now we have, we started out with the Cabrini Green location. Now we have West Side location and then Northwest as well. As families have moved all over the city and expanded, away from downtown, unfortunately. Um, so yeah, Slam is a night where all that we gather mentors, we put them on teams, Christian mentors, we train them up, put them on teams, and then as the students hear about it, so it used to just be word of mouth. Um, and, had to shift, one because of new slams opening up, but also COVID, made some things hard, like the word of mouth sort of stopped. Used to they would bring their little brothers and little cousins to slam, and that's how, and then it would just, word of mouth. But we've had to change some ways since COVID. But yeah, students get put on teams, and then the teams compete. So they play games. Well, we have an open gym, and then they play some games, and then they hear a gospel message. They break up with their mentor in groups or pairs, and they go through the message. Ask them in regards to, how can I pray for you? Start to build relationships on Mondays, play some more games, and then, we try to figure out like how are we gonna get you home type stuff.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's the Monday nights, and the idea is, hey, look, um, Mondays is just used as a springboard for life on life. So for some students, they're ready for mentorship, not night one. Like, hey, like they're very trustworthy, they're very trusting, and like, hey, let's hang out. Like, what are you doing Friday? For other students, it's gonna take weeks. It's gonna take months, and so you don't know what you're gonna get, and so you just roll with the punches. And the idea is to use those Monday nights to build relationship, to build trust, and be like, okay, like I can trust this guy. I can open up to him more and more, and then it turns into, "Hey, what are you doing Friday?" Or "I'll come to your basketball game," or "You wanna go get something to eat?" which students love, and then the idea is, for as you're building, you turn into a life on life, Christ-centered, mentorship relationship.
Now, AD, are we talking like 10 kids, 20 kids, or what are we talking about here?
Yeah, so, alright, you wanna go with pre-COVID or post?
Man, do both. Tell me
Okay,
about
yeah,
both.
pre-COVID, we only had 1 location, anywhere from 90 to 120 kids. So we packed it out. And on some nights, man, I came on right before COVID, 6 months. Um and there were some nights we had so many students where we had to shift around our schedule because we couldn't all fit them where the preaching was going to go. So some nights, man, I remember praying like, please God, like, um you had to preach twice, maybe even like 3 times or something, so that was crazy. But, the the first signs of, we opened up a Slam West, and then COVID hit, so then we had to start all over. But now, the population on the west side of Chicago has grown, tremendously, so right now they're at, man, they've been hitting 80 kids, and they started off maybe with, like, 40 in the beginning of the year, now they're at 80. Whereas, Central, not as many students, and now we're pulling students from the South Side. Uh, we're right now probably like 40 to 50 students. If they all showed up, if all the students showed up consistently, we'd probably be at like 60. Um, and then Northwest, I think, is about 30 to 40 students right now. And what we
Man, but
really
that
need is more mentors.
Yeah, of course, man. Always.
Yeah.
But man, what I love about that, AD, is like you are getting together people organically and you're having fun. I mean, it's loud, they're hearing the gospel, and it is on their own timing. If a kid wants a mentor, they can get one. If not, they can come, they can have fun. And I just love that perspective and that model because it's just patience. It is like, hey, we are just going to get these kids together. We're going to have fun. We're going to talk about Jesus, and we're going to have faith to know that whenever the Lord's ready to move in a kid's heart, then we'll be there. So
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
great, man.
And there's some FOMO too, some students are like, "Man, I don't got a mentor." And really, like, some of them, they have like 2 or 3. You have different levels of mentorship, but we do want them to have like that one that they go to. And
Yeah,
so, yeah.
that's awesome, man. Why don't you tell us about what you guys are up to in schools?
Yeah, so before COVID, we had Grip the School. So there were some mentors, I was just in contact with a potential mentor today, and he's like, "Man, I gotta get up at 4:30 in the morning on Tuesdays, so I can't do slam." So pre-COVID, we would if there's mentors that couldn't make our Monday night ministry and, time and maybe even mentors that had families and kids, themselves, we would point them to, Grip the School, and so through certain partnerships with schools, we would be able to yeah, bring in volunteers and serve the school, like serve the teachers, serve the students, and maybe, do a chess club. They would serve, yeah, just find some avenue to serve in the schools, maybe even like a hall monitor, to help. But since COVID, that we had to change that model. And so now we're doing cookies and combos. And so we're at maybe I say like 6 or 7 schools in the city right now, and we come to the schools and say, "Hey, we wanna do this cookies and combos model," where we bring snacks, and then we just have conversations, and we start talking about life. We try to help them, after COVID, it was really hard to get students to look each other in the eyes and just have conversations away from their phones. Um, yeah, you would find that, man, after going to cookies and combos conversation and getting your opinions out, getting, your thoughts out, you felt better. You felt like, hey, like I feel, having eye to eye conversations, face to face conversations. Maybe some of the students started to take their mask off. Like, man, it was great. And so we've been continuing to partner with schools doing cookies and combos right now.
It's awesome, man. It's amazing what happens whenever you actually engage with people. It's almost like we were made for it.
Yeah.
So, man, and then talk about the Future Steps program because I have heard that you guys have had just like a bunch of success, not just with kids in high school, but kids after high school as well.
Yeah, so Future Steps is run by my coworker Sean, and once a year, past couple years, we've been doing a career night at Slam, um, and so maybe like 30 to 40 organizations come, and we have like yeah, we're just trying to one if they're able to work at some of these organizations that partner with us, sure, we'll like plug them in to get jobs. And if not, we're wanting to get them to think ahead. Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to go the nursing route? Do you want to go? Do you want to do hair? Do you want to be a lawyer? Do you want to work in aviation? Like, let's point you there. Let's try to get the ball rolling. How are your grades doing? So we teach financial classes. We teach studying classes. Um, and then Sean will meet with the students, that are really, like, serious, and he'll be like, "Hey, like, what do you wanna do?" "Well, why don't you go the community college route because I'm gonna be saving you." I've literally heard him on the phone like, you're about to be 40 grand in debt for that year, so but if you go to community college here in Chicago, they'll offer it to you for free." So it's really cool just to see, like, if a student is willing, man, there's so much out there for them, um, to get set up for their future, like, the right way. And so, yeah, just different classes is trying to get students, prepared for the real world life post high school.
And just like there's so much power in relationship, right? And it's like one thing that I love about mentoring is you never know what connection you have will be the open door for your mentee that will transform their life, you
Yeah.
know? And so it's like, man, if you can introduce them to this person who runs this shop or this person who's engaged here or this person who does this and just see what the Lord will do, you know, you can sit back and watch some amazing stories happen because there is no such thing as a self-made person.
Yep.
All of us have had some help. All of us have had someone put a good word in for us. Like my
Mhm.
my first job was because my mentor knew a guy. I got my job as a teacher up in Dallas because of my college roommate, right? Like almost every job that I've ever had has been because I knew someone who knew someone. And so I think there's just so much power in you talk about the the big C church, you talk about gospel family. I mean, just what a great opportunity for us as mentors to expose our mentees to our network, to our friends, to people who can help take them to wherever they hope to go. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
well,
life
man,
I'm finding that life really is all about who you know, and
man,
same
it's a
thing
people
happens
game.
with stuff.
Yeah, for sure, dude. It's a people game for sure. But man, AD, I would love to hear about just this. You guys seem to have a certain kind of model, uh, equip, connect, grow, develop. Do you think you could just spend just a second on that and just how that impacts the relationships that um, you guys build up in Chicago?
Yeah, I think, um, in regards to the equipping, I think, for mentors, no matter I think it could be a very daunting task to come in to one of our programs and to meet, these 13 to 17, 18 year olds, and you're just like, no, I'm too far. Like it feels overwhelming. Like I'm not cool enough. There's a lot of mentors like I'm not cool enough. I don't have the right lingo. And so one thing that we do want to do is we want to equip. Like we want to equip the saints to meet the students where they're at. So one, we're just equipping them with like or asking the right questions like why do you want to do this? Let's make sure that you're not trying to be a savior yourself. Like why what's your why, because there is a we teach about the quit gap, um, and so, man, we're just trying to equip. I really enjoy the training that goes on, weeks and weeks of training before a mentor starts. Um, and yeah, going over the gospel, going over how to share the gospel, make sure that you're gospel fluent, and then making sure that a uh, a mentor like isn't overwhelmed by the reality. Is like, man, I'm so different than the students that I'm meeting, or I just don't have it all together. It's like, hey, like just be yourself, like trust God, and be present. And so I really enjoy the equipping aspect of yeah, the ministry. And then that leads to growing, right? And what was the other?
Well,
eh,
hold on one second, AD. You said something about a gap. Why don't you
Yeah,
talk more about that?
yeah. Quick gap is the area that you. So you have. We try to break down like, all right, what are your expectations for this? Where do you think? What do you think a student needs? And there's all these needs in this. Um, that is each individual student has so many needs in their life, and you think that you're just going to come in and just change it all. It's like no, like there's a quick gap. Like your expectations versus reality, like when when you don't when you get when your expectations get crushed by reality, it ends up like a lot of mentors quit. They don't, this isn't what I was expecting. Yeah, because like your expectations were way off. So we try to get them to realize, hey, you're not going to save your student. You can't be everything for your student. You actually, there's just so many areas that you can influence them, and you actually need you need other people behind you. You need it, every student needs a village, right? And so, yeah, we just get them thinking about, all right, what's going to cause you to quit? At what point, like, can you foresee some areas in your life that okay, yeah, I'm off. I need to change that. So
Man, that's good. I haven't ever heard that before. One of the things that I love to talk about in regards to mentoring is, especially when you're going from socioeconomic or just
yeah,
if the mentor's life is significantly different than the mentees, right? Like different social classes, different race, like it's a whole lot more like going on the mission field than it is going to hang out with the kid next door.
yeah,
And so, like, if you think of a missionary, like if I'm going to China and I'm just like, hey, I'm gonna go to China, and I just show up there and I just think that it's exactly like how it is down in Waco, Texas, and I start being like, oh well, down in Waco, we do things like this and we do this, and I don't know why you're doing it like this because we do it like this. That's
yeah,
just not gonna end well. And
yeah,
so, like, thinking of it more like a missionary, like, okay, you've got to prepare. Like, you've got to stay up to date on what's going on. You have to be aware of norms. You have to be aware of what
Mhm.
they care about. You have to be aware of their values. You have to come in as a learner, not as the expert.
Yes.
And that takes a ridiculous amount of humility and patience and
Mhm.
gentleness and self-control. And one thing that I love about mentoring, is it hard? Yes, because of everything that I just said. But if you can submit to those things, it will make you look more like Jesus in a powerful way. So,
Yeah, for
cool deal.
sure. Yeah, it's also interesting to see, like, I think me and a couple mentors were talking about, like, commitment to mentorship, commitment to, like, making disciples. You're not just like it's funny how you can come into this thinking that you're gonna do all this change in the student's life when all the time God has you here, and if you don't quit, He has you here in these tough moments, because He's actually saving you. He's actually conforming you to His image, and this whole time we think that we're doing these students a favor, that you could have a savior complex or whatever. But the whole time, like God is working in you. He's changing your heart. He's molding you to be a more sacrificial, more loving, more caring, more understanding individual. So
For sure. All right, man. So we talked about equipping. Next is connect.
yeah, so we want to connect students. One, we want to connect mentors with mentees. We want to connect Christians, Christian adults with students, in whatever neighborhood they're living in. And so, yeah, the idea is just we're equipping you so that way you can connect with the student. And we do train in regards to, like, yeah, like this is we have some Kahoot, what's it called? Games
Yeah, yeah.
to show, like, you're coming into a whole different world here. Like, yeah, just different worldviews, different, values, just different world. And
Different everything.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, where do you find your mentors?
Man, churches, so churches open up their doors. We partner with churches. We've had longstanding partnerships with churches to, yeah, they'll give us some stage time. They'll let us set up a table. And the idea is like, man, do you want to reach also like the next generation? So, um, yeah, like, it can be hard to get teenagers, um, in through the church door, so the idea is like, "Man, let us, train up some of your whoever's willing to serve with us, and hopefully, like, some students will begin to come into your church as well." So I'm really thank shout out to all the churches in Chicago that help us out at Grip and yeah, making disciples. Where else? Sometimes it's just word of mouth. We've done, like, things like, Downtown Day. We've met Yeah, it's crazy how honestly, it's at the end of the day, it's the Lord that sends people our way, but word of mouth, friends, churches, other nonprofits.
Man, I want to stop there, AD. And every nonprofit I talk to, like everyone, they want to know a couple things. One, how do we get more money? But two, how do we get more mentors? Right.
Yeah.
And we've got recruiting plans and we got church partnerships and we go into schools and we do the downtown day and we do everything. But what you just said is it's the Lord. And so, man, if you're running a mentoring organization that's trying to make disciples by way of mentoring, let us not forget that prayer and relying upon the Lord to bring you the right mentors, the right number of mentors at the right
Mhm.
time is really what it's all about. And so if you're out there and you're like, man, we need more mentors, we need more mentors, we need more mentors, let us try to change our perspective and say, man, maybe God has given us the exact number of mentors that we need today for this season, or maybe he wants to give us a new way to try to find mentors, or maybe we just need to we just need to pray, or we just need to fast, or like we
Yeah.
need to do whatever we can to stop trying to make the result happen in our own strength, even though that's good, right?
Mhm.
And maybe let's bring the Lord into this equation. So
Yeah.
that's good, man.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I heard like a man of God say like when he really like wants to bring out the big guns in regards to prayer, he's like, Lord, you know, Lord, like so that's the reality. Like he knows what we need, and we're working as well, but we're praying. We're praying every Monday. We start off with prayer, um, and and my prayer as well is like God, don't let us just stop on Monday. Like God, give me grace to continue to pray on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
It's awesome, man. Okay, so the last two we got, it's time to grow and then develop. Can you just kind of talk about those two things super quick?
Yeah, so growing, we want our, mentors as well as mentees to grow in the Lord, to grow together, to grow in relationship, all areas of growth. Um, hopefully, the local church grows as well. Um, and then we want to develop. So it's cool to see, leaders come out. So we have like head coaches, yeah, mentors develop, uh, as well as our students develop, like developing them for the future, developing them to serve their local community. Um, yeah, that's what we're about.
That's awesome, man. Um, man, tell me like, what is your favorite story of you seeing God work at Grip? Like whether it's a mentor mentee, like
Mhm.
what if you find yourself getting discouraged, what's the story that you can think of to be like, okay, like I'm in this role for a reason. I know God's moving. I know it's working.
Yeah. I would say like a recent one, speaking of like growing and developing, um, there's, yeah, it's a blessing to see students come through our program, and then come all the way back around. So now we have like, there's a former student, um, I remember even his mentor came over to my house to have a Bible study with other students, and his student really didn't care. Like at the end of the day, like his student went off to college. Um, their like relationship didn't stay, all the way intact. Um, but guess what? Like the Lord also like uh doesn't need us. He can do this all on his own, and so thankfully, through Sean staying connected, our future steps um, guy, through Sean staying connected with him, he's just the one reporting back to us, "Hey, I think the Lord's like working in this guy," and it's just that's the way he that's what he does. He's in the business of saving people, and so I'm really that encourages me. I'm seeing this student, or now he's no longer a student. Now he's a volunteer, and he's serving, and he's actually ready to jump into mentorship. But right now he's just like, no, I'm gonna take things slow. He's serving in another area. So it's just really, I think those are the stories that really encourage me, where it's full circle. Even one of my students is coming back. Former students, he comes and volunteers. He's not yet walking with the Lord yet, but I know that it's in God's timing, right? And I don't get to say salvation isn't of me. It's not in of our organization. Salvation is of the Lord, and so we're just trusting on Him. We're gonna let God save.
And just like if you're a part of a mentoring organization, if you oversee mentors, once a mentor gets discouraged, man, it can go downhill fast. And so one of my favorite verses, AD, is First Corinthians 3:6. I planted, Apollos watered,
Yeah,
but God gives the growth. And
yeah,
it's very rare in in all my experience that you meet a kid and you get to walk with him for a decade and you get to talk about Jesus and you get to baptize him and you get to disciple him and you're with him through college and you're with him through like that is the perfect story. Like everyone wants that. Very few get that.
yeah,
But if you can focus in on faithfulness, not fruitfulness, and what you can control instead of what you can't control, and just know that God loves this kid more than you do, and God has a plan that is so much bigger than your plan. And so, one thing that I really love to encourage people with is, hey, if you oversee mentors, time and time and time and time again, just preach the faithfulness of God. Preach
yeah,
that, hey, it might not seem that you're making a difference. It might not seem that they're listening. It might not look like they're changing, but that does not mean that God isn't working. That does not mean that God's not changing their heart. And sometimes that just takes a while. And sometimes we don't see it. But just because we don't see it doesn't mean that it's not happening. So
Yeah, walking by faith, not by sight. I had a
that's right.
student, he lived with us for a little bit and then, moved out and, you know, really, really hardworking kid. Just recently, actually in the summer just hit me up just out of nowhere. Hey, I'm just not feeling like myself. Like, can I go to church with you? Yeah, like you didn't really come to church with us while you live with us, So like, yeah, so he comes to church, he signs up, didn't end up like doing that, but the Lord is able, like, and it's in his timing, and yeah, it's humbling. It's humbling that you get humbled over and over again, like, you can't do it. You can't save. Um, and God is faithful.
That's right. He who calls us is faithful. He will do it. All right, my man. Well, if people want to find out more about Grip, tell them how to do that.
Yeah, gripyouth.com. You could search us up on Instagram, Grip Outreach for Youth. Yeah, we love uh, a lot of other organizations have hit us up over the years. Some will even come and visit. And so that's one thing that I enjoy about Chicago. I feel like I've learned that really well in Chicago. Like, all the organizations coming together for the sake of the gospel, for the sake of the youth, for the sake of mentorship. Like, hey, like let's help each other out. And so I've seen Grip do that, and I've seen like the Lord bless that in other ministries that or we're not like setting up fences or man, we're just out trying to do the Great Commission, and help each other along the way. So
Awesome, man. AD, man, thank you so much for sharing about Grip, about your story on our podcast. I hope it encouraged you as a listener. Hey, if you haven't checked out our National Christian Mentoring Gathering that's happening in April, go on our website, youcanmentor.com, check that out. It's going to be a bunch of people who love Jesus, love mentoring, all getting in the same space together. But yeah, if you missed anything that we said, well, I'm sorry, because this was a great interview. Just leaving super encouraged, AD. But remember this, you can mentor. Thank you.
amen.